What is up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Silver Lions Playbook podcast. And today we are back with the co-host, Thomas Urich.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And today we have our special first round grades episode. And our mock did pretty well, I'll say. We didn't blow it out of proportion or anything by getting so many right, but I think we were solid. At least in terms of we maybe not got exactly what players, but the positions at least a lot of the time. But regardless, today is our first round grade and just kind of a synopsis on what happened in the first round before we get into day two. That will be second and third round. And to start it off, the Jacksonville Jaguars went ahead and took Travon Walker, the defensive end out of Georgia, at number one. This kind of, came out of nowhere in the past week or two, I'd say. And I feel like once it started, once the rumors started, they never stopped. And that's kind of, in my opinion, how I knew that was the pick. And it works out great for Detroit at number two. But I do like the number one pick. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think Travon Walker has very, very high upside. But his floor isn't necessarily what you'd want to take at number one. But it happened. So I will give this one a solid B, just because I feel like they did reach a little bit with Aiden Hutchinson on the board. They should have taken the better player, but I don't hate it.
No, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do both of their picks because they also trade up to for Daniel Lloyd, or do you want to do each separate pick?
Yeah, we'll just talk about it as we go every pick, and then as a pick that gets traded comes up, we'll talk about the trade that happened as well.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I agree. I think that with Walker being in the top 10 over the last couple of weeks, I knew that either Detroit or Jacksonville would probably end up getting him. In the last couple of days, it's really ended up being Jacksonville as the actual target. I'm a big Travon Walker fan. I've been saying this for about a couple of weeks now. Yeah. I think this is a huge risk reward gamble for Jacksonville. So I'm going to actually give this pick a C.
I don't hate
huge
that.
fan.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I was pretty close to doing that myself. So
it's just really the value. I think that you can get Travon Walker later in the draft.
Yeah. I don't think he would have made it past two necessarily. I think Kayvon and Walker would have been a tough selection for the Lions. But obviously we don't know who they would have went with, but at number two, they did end up going with Aiden Hutchinson though. And this as a Lions fan, man, I was hyped yesterday when this happened. As soon as the Jaguars went Travon Walker, dude, I was like, oh, let's go, baby. Aiden Hutchinson. It's a dream come true. It's like the dominoes are falling in place where they need to be for the Lions right now. And that happened with, Aiden Hutchinson, the Michigan man, the best defensive player in this draft, the best edge player in this draft, falls to two, and we snatch him up. It was like, I don't even think we took any of the clock. I feel like we just Travon Walker. As soon as we heard Travon Walker's name announced, we wrote down Aiden Hutchinson and turned the card in. It was like that. And that's how this was the guy that we always wanted. And I love the pick. I absolutely love it. Like I said, I think it's a steal at the number two position. He should have went number one, in my opinion. Because if they were going to go edge, they should have went with Aiden, in my opinion. But I will give this one a solid A plus, because it's a steal. You keep the Michigan man. And I don't really see where else they should have went with this. I feel like this is a no-brainer, in my opinion. Aiden or nobody.
Yeah, I think that for his for edge players, he was the best. So if a team was going to look for an edge player, Aiden Hutchinson is definitely the choice, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I really like the tackers. I thought that the tackers should have been 1, 2, and 3. in this draft. But
Puke. If the Lions took a tackle at 2, they should be fired.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And so like the
value.
The Detroit Lions are a team that like didn't need a tackler, so like a tackle really never made sense with them. Which
right.
Aiden Hutchinson being edge, it makes sense. So with all that being said, I'm gonna give this a solid A because they did pick a position of need. One of the best players in this draft. I would say he was like number 4 for me on my player board after tacklers. And yeah, it's solid.
I like that. And with that being said, just to kind of go a little bit deeper into this, since this is the Lions playbook, Silver Lions playbook podcast. For me, this kind of solidifies the future for the Lions. This pick is huge, not only in, yes, he's from Michigan, he's a great player. But it to me shows that Brad Holmes and the front office know what they're doing. They drafted the correct player. I mean, they did get kind of lucky in the end by him falling, but in my opinion, this is the start of the new era in Detroit. This is exactly what we wished would have happened. And this for me, like I said, is just, it's the start of the new era. It's kicking off that new, okay, this is what we're going to have. We got Aiden Hutchinson now on this defensive line, and we'll see where we go later in the draft. But this pick just blew me away. And I was honestly so happy for the rest of the night. I didn't care what we did with our second pick. I mean, obviously I cared, but all I could think about was how good Aiden is going to be in Detroit for us. But with that being said, the Houston Texans ended up going with a corner at 3, Derek Stingley, which we heard a lot of, in which we didn't mock this. Unfortunately, we did talk about it a little bit though, because this was something we've heard for probably, about the last week. And usually when it's the week up to the draft, it's more, kind of set in stone in terms of what these guys, what these GMs are going to want to do. But I don't hate the pick, but I don't love it. Gardner was my CB1 of this draft, in my opinion. I don't think it was very far of a drop for Stingley to number 2 corner. It was pretty much, 1A and 1B, and then the rest of the corners for me. But a corner at 3 is always tough unless he's going to be, that Jalen Ramsey type, which I guess that is the upside that Stingley offers. But with that said, I'm going to give this a solid B. I want to give it a B plus, but I feel like with the needs that they have and where they drafted, they should have went another position, because tackle and edge are 2 positions they really need. And I do personally feel like Kayvon or Ikwonu is better at their position than Stingley is, but that's neither here nor there. They picked a pretty good player, and for that I'll give them a B.
So I think Derek Stingley is a player based solely on upside. He hasn't really had a great year since like 2019. Opinion. And like he showed that he can be a top cornerback. But he hasn't really shown it recently. He was actually my CB3 in this draft. I had McDuffie and Ahmad Gardner ahead of him. And so to me, this is a C, just because I think that Stingley, if he hits, he's gonna hit, and that'd be amazing. But from everything that I've seen, I see like Murmur's Claiborne, D. Murner type of player with like a lot of upside, but like doesn't really reach his full potential in the NFL.
Right.
So yeah, it's a solid C for me.
I don't hate that. It's kind of similar to the Walker pick. It's a little bit of a reach, but they really love the player. But after that, we had another corner go in the top 5 with Ahmad Gardner. This is one that we kind of mocked pretty much the whole way through. Ahmad Gardner to 4 to the Jets. I like this a lot, especially because Derek Stingley was picked before him. I really like it, and that kind of adds to my grade a little bit. I feel like Gardner is a great fit in New York, and they obviously needed that elite corner, and they get that here. I'm gonna give this a B. No, I'm gonna give it an A. No, I'll give it an A minus because I feel like if Derek wasn't the pick at 3, I would have given it a B plus. And the fact that another corner was picked right before helps me give this a little bit better grade because he is my cornerback 1 in this draft. And I
Yep.
feel like, like I said, the Jets have always needed an elite corner pretty much since Darrell Revis. They haven't really had that, number 1 elite shutdown corner. And with this defense, they got a pretty solid front 7. So I feel like Ahmad is going to be very good for the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. It was either offensive tackle, cornerback, or wide receiver, linebacker for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see like Thibodeau, I could have seen like Akanu, could have seen Wilson, I could have seen Amon Gowner.
Right.
And I really like the pick of Amon Gowner. He would have been drafted a little bit later according to my player rankings, but um, with everything that the Jets need, uh, I like, to me they're like one of the teams that like need like every position. And so Amon Gowner is definitely not a bad value pick here. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna give it an A.
I
I
like it.
like it. I don't know if I would have picked him at 4, but like I don't really think that you can trade down and still get Amon Gowner. So um with that value alone, I like it's a solid A pick, in my
I
opinion.
like that. I like that grade. And then next we had the New York Giants taking Kayvon Thibodeau. We all kind of heard he was going to slide coming into the draft. This
Yeah.
wasn't a very far slide though. I mean, he slid from probably 2 to 5, which I mean that's a couple picks, but not quite as far as what a lot of people were assuming. And with that said, I do like Kayvon. He's my second edge. Well, I would probably put him a little, I don't know, it's tough. Him and Walker are kind of tied at 2 for me.
Hmm.
But because they're two different players, but or two different styles of player, but they're about the same in terms of the grade that I would give them for what they do. But I love the pick for the Giants here. They get that elite edge that they've been wanting for a long time. They really haven't had a great defensive line. Outside of the interior guys, they haven't really had a great edge rusher in a long time. And I think Kayvon can add that. And with that said, this is an A pick for me because the positional value is great, the player value is great, and the need is a great fit. So I give it an A.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Walker going 1, Thibodeau slides down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, Giants were like one of the teams that was always in play for him. The reason why we picked Jermaine Johnson in previous mocks was because Kevin Thibodeau went number 3 or 4 in each
Right.
of those drafts. So I really like this pick. I don't know about the stacking of the picks that the Giants made. I think that if you wanted like Tacker, then you maybe should have picked Tacker at 5. But they might have liked Neo better than Akanu. So with that, I don't hate the pick. I think it's an A. I just like don't know if that value was really there at 5 compared to 7 because I don't think
Right.
Carolina picks defensive ends at 6.
Yeah,
Um, I
that's
think they
probably
pick.
true.
I think they pick Near or Cross. If the Giants pick a Kanu, or if the Giants pick Near at 5, then they pick Kanu still. But so the stacking is the only issue that I have with this.
Right. The only thing I can say about that is just playing devil's advocate there. Maybe they had them both ranked pretty much the same. And they were like, well, we don't want to have to choose, so we'll just let you choose for us, pretty much. And ensuring they'll get Kayvon.
Possible.
But
Yeah.
at number 6, the Carolina Panthers went tackle Ike Mekwanu. You had this pretty much for the past week or so.
Yeah.
I always thought they were going quarterback here, but you turned out that it was tackle. And Malik Willis is still on the board in day 2. But with that
I
said, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I
Oh,
totally cut you off.
oh, you're good. But with that said, I feel like this was a good pick. I don't know. I don't love it as much as I do some other picks. I'm still gonna give it probably a B plus grade here because I do think he is a very, very good player. And that is a need for them for sure. It's just I really think they need a quarterback, man. And I guess there was no quarterbacks really worth it in this draft, so it makes sense to go tackle instead of kind of wasting a top 10 pick on a quarterback. But with that said, I think Icky's a great player and I think it's a pretty good fit. So I'm going to give that a B plus.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think Iggy was the best player in this draft.
Mhm.
And I think he was the best tackler in this draft. So for him to slide to 6, past probably 2 offensive tackler needy teams,
Mhm.
was a really big win for me. And so I'm going to give this an A plus for the Carolina Panthers because I think they got the best player at 6, which is
Right.
really hard to accomplish in like a normal draft.
Yeah, and I don't hate that. Honestly, I think the only thing we're differing on in this grade is that I do like Evan Neal a little bit more as like your bookend tackle. I think Icky is great, but I think Evan Neal is just a little bit better. At least right away, which kind of helps too. But with that being said, Evan Neal was picked number 7 by the Giants. And I love this pick. Like we talked about before, it was pretty much tackle or edge for the Giants at 5. They went edge at 5, get their tackle at 7. And I give this one an A. Because he's my top tackle on the board. It's a huge need for them. I think it's a great pick. And now you get your bookend right tackle to pair with Andrew Thomas that you drafted a few years ago, who's coming along on the left side. And hopefully they can get a quarterback because they did decline Daniel Jones' 5th-year option. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I give this an A grade.
Yeah, I like this pick. I mean, he was tackle number 3 on my board. I like Charles Cross a little bit better, just
Mhm.
because Charles Cross is a better pass blocker in my opinion.
Mm.
But with that being said, I think Neal is probably the 3rd best player in this draft, and so to get him at 7 is kind of a steal to me. The fact that they passed on Cross for him kind of dings them a little bit, but I'm gonna give them a B plus.
Okay.
Just because Evan Neal is a really good player and he's going to be a really good right tackler for
Right.
them. So I like that pick.
And with that, this is where the draft starts getting a little weird. We didn't
Not in
really
my opinion.
well, the player for me, I didn't really see happening here at this pick. I also am not a huge Drake London truther. I think he was my wide receiver 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think it was 4. But it was pretty much a toss up for him and Burks. But I do like the pick and I like the fit. Clearly the NFL thinks about it a little bit differently than I do, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one. But I feel like Drake London is a great fit in Atlanta because now they're getting their Julio Jones type receiver. He might not have that type of speed, but he's that style of receiver to pair with, Kyle Pitts and then Calvin Ridley if and when he comes back. And with that said, he is my wide receiver 3. So I'm going to say this is a solid B, almost a B plus. It's really close. But I do like Garrett Wilson more. So I think this was a tad bit of a reach. But I still do like the pick for fit and, talent.
Drake London to me was wide receiver number 2. I always thought he was going to go in the top 10.
Mm,
I originally had him mocked at 10.
yeah.
And as the wide receiver number 2 because I get Wilson going number 8, but I think they're both similar players. I think they both have similar outlooks. I'm a big Drake London fan because he does a bunch of like the small dirty stuff that you don't really see on tape. He's not going to wow you with speed. Um, he's he's fast, but he's like doesn't. It's not like a Tyreek Hill fast. I really like ESPN's player comparison to Vincent Jackson with him. Just because he can go up and grab uh the ball, and he has that speed where he can like beat the cornerbacks, but he's not gonna beat the corners all the time.
Mhm.
And like really his true value in this draft is blocking and all the small stuff he does. So I like this pick. Um but because Garrett Wilson was my wide receiver number one, and I think that he should have been probably picked ahead of Drake London. I'm also going to give this a B plus, just because I think the value curve waited a little bit uh, longer. I also think that Drake London is more on the raw side right now,
Yeah.
and for a team like Atlanta, that doesn't have a lot of pieces at the moment, that might come into question.
Yeah, I agree there. And actually my pro comp for Drake London is an Allen Robinson type. Um, I feel like he fits that mold really well. So that pick at 8 isn't too bad. And then moving on to 9, we got the Seahawks taking Charles Cross, the tackle out of Mississippi State. I really do like this pick because he's the best tackle available. It's clear that they have a big need there. They haven't really had an offensive line for a while. In
Yeah.
our mock, we had Evan Neal falling to 9, which unfortunately for the Seahawks, that does not happen here, but they still get a very good player in Charles Cross. So I'm going to give this one another B plus, because I do really like the pick and I really like the value. Um, well, actually, the value is tough for me because I think I would give it an A or an A minus, because I'm not as high on Charles Cross as some. I do think he's a great player, but at 9's a little bit of just a small reach for me. But when you got a guy, I don't think they would be able to trade down and get him
Yeah.
still. So I think it's a good pick. So I give it a B plus.
I agree. Charles Cross is my offensive tackle number 2 in this draft, and so to get him at 9, I really like the pick. Um, Again, I think he's the best pass blocker in this draft. And so since the league is so pass happy right now, I think that was deserving of offensive tackle number 2.
Mhm.
And this is a solid A for me. I really
Yeah,
like what's here.
I like that. I mean, I can't hate you for that one. I feel like it was a great fit and really like was exactly what Seattle wanted to happen. They get one of the top 3 tackles here at number
Now
9.
go get your quarterback, Seattle.
Yeah, right. They got 2 picks in the second round, so we could see some
Yeah.
crazy happening there. Malik Willis or Desmond Ritter is likely going to be available.
Right.
But with that said, at number 10, the Jets took the wide receiver 1 of both of our boards, Garrett Wilson. And I
Yep.
love this pick. After the talks that they had, with Debo Samuel or for Debo Samuel, I feel like taking a wide receiver at 10 makes a lot more sense than giving up 10 plus more to go get a 26-year-old receiver and pay him a lot, especially because the player that Garrett Wilson is, he is not Debo Samuel right now, no, but I think he has a higher upside, because a lot of Debo's production comes from the system that he's in, and I'm not saying he's not a great player. He is a great player. Um, but do I think he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL? I don't know. That's a tough question for me. He's definitely not in my top 3. But top
Debo?
5 is tough. Yeah. Top 5 is kind of tough for me, but I feel like, getting Wilson at 10 is a great value, especially because London was already taken at 8. And they probably expected Wilson to be gone at this point. So I'm going to give it an A. You get a receiver, to pair with Zach Wilson. You got Elijah Moore. You got Corey Davis. I believe they signed a few tight ends this offseason. All they really need on offense is a few O linemen now, and they got their corner at 4. So I think the Jets are killing it. And I give this one an A.
Yeah, I agree. I think Garrett Wilson's the best wide receiver in this draft. To give him a 10 is great value. Uh, Joe Douglas has killed this draft so far. I like this value more than I like the Gardner value, uh, just based off pick selection. So I'm also gonna give this pick an A. I think he's going to be one of the top wide receivers in the next few years.
Yeah, I got to agree there. He's not your, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase necessarily. But he's got that type of upside. Probably won't be that good as a rookie, but we could see that trajectory happen with his potential. And we have our first trade at 11,
Yeah.
which is kind of a surprising one in my opinion. We had Chris Olave going to the Saints pretty much the whole time, but it was
Yep.
mostly at like 19 or 16. Didn't really they didn't really need to move up for him. But here
Yeah.
they moved up and they gave up picks 16, not 98 and 120. So 1, 3 and a 4 for pick 11, and then they picked Chris Olave.
Yeah.
um and for me, they didn't give up they gave up a little bit of value, but it wasn't a ton. I don't hate the trade for them. I feel like there wasn't a clear winner in this trade just because of the fact that the value kind of goes both ways. And I do really like the player. And when you're in the position that the Saints are in, where you think you're in it to win it this year, this is a great pick. And I give it a solid B plus just because they did move up quite a bit and give up a little bit to get him. But I still do like the pick.
Yeah. So it's like interesting to me because this is when the draft really started to go unexpected, in my opinion. In the top 10, I thought it was just like ordinary draft stuff. A little bit of players was uh, in different draft positions that I had, but um, 11, I did not expect Chris Olave to go here. Uh, I thought it was going to be a quarterback. I thought it was going to be Willis, but um, I don't know. I think the Saints starting the Saints seeing that Lemmy got drafted at 8 and Wilson getting drafted at 10 made them think that wide receiver one was on the rise, and so they need to make this jump to 11 to get Chris Olave, which again we had mocked the entire way, but I don't like the value here. Um, Chris Olave was my wide receiver for after Jameson Williams. And so I really like the fit with the team, but I don't like that he got picked at 11, and I don't like that he got picked before Jameson Williams. So I'm gonna give this a solid B.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that grade. The only reason I really gave it the extra B plus was because I just love the fit so much. I think Chris Olave
Yeah.
is a perfect Saints receiver.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I agree.
and with that said, the Lions moved up to 12 with the Minnesota Vikings. We gave up, pick 32, pick 34, and pick 66 for pick 12 and pick 46. So basically, what happened here is we moved up 20 spots in the first round, moved up 20 spots in the third round, and gave up pick 34. So in my opinion, I think we kind of stole in terms of value. We won this trade by I think 250 points per the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, which I love. And the player we picked was great. Jameson Williams really has the upside to be the legit wide receiver one of this draft. He was
Yeah.
my wide receiver two, behind Garrett Wilson, mostly because of the ACL injury. I think Jameson Williams is like this is high praise for him, but he's like Tyreek Hill with better route running. I feel like the biggest difference is he has to show on the field in the NFL that he has the ability to do what Tyreek does on a week to week basis. And especially after coming off an injury, it's going to be tough,
Yeah.
especially with that being an ACL. But with being the Lions, we have extra time to give him rehabbing because we're not really one of the best teams this year. So we can give him a little extra time coming off to get healthy.
Right.
But I love the pick. I do think the trade was the most surprising move of the night, in my opinion. This came out of literally nowhere. I don't even think Jameson knew the Lions were interested in him, and that's the thing, that's how far this goes. Like Jameson himself was surprised that this happened. And I mean, if you're Brad Holmes, you move up to get your guy that you think is going to be the elite receiver that you need. I love it in that aspect, and I think I give it a A-, just because I do love the fit and I love the value we got. I'm just a little weary with the injury, and moving up so much to get him. So
Yeah, I somewhat agree. I think that Jameson Williams has potential to be wide receiver number one in this class. I think with his ACL injury, he slides down a little bit,
yeah,
but I think he has the potential and the athletic skills to be wide receiver number one, and probably should have been wide receiver number one. Should it not been the ACL injury. So I love this pick. I would personally say that he looks a lot more like Diggs than Hill, just a little bit faster. Uh, and so I'm gonna give this an A. Again, I think they stole from Minnesota. That selection was, or that trade was meant for the Lions, and it really starts a nice wide receiver run. And again, I feel bad for Philadelphia because this second year in a row where the Lions jump up ahead of them to pick a player that they really liked. So kudos to them. This is INA.
And with that said, also I would say Jameson Williams is, I don't know, what are the words I'm thinking of? He's not an elite receiver necessarily, right off the bat, or like necessarily going to be. I feel like personally he's like a Jerry Judy with elite speed. That's probably a better comp than what I started with here. And I feel like he's more of like I don't know. He's going to be a wide receiver one, or I hope he's going to be a wide receiver one for us. He's definitely got the potential, but I feel like he's got a pretty decent floor as well.
So I think he is the wide receiver in this draft class that starts off hot.
Really.
I think that because he has so much athletic gifts that he is just gonna come in and kind of play in that Justin Jefferson role, and I think he's gonna have as good of a season as Justin Jefferson did a couple years ago. The
Wow.
only thing that really scares me is that he got drafted by the Lions.
Really. I mean, I can't hit you for that.
Yeah, I think that like he has so many skills. I love Jameson Williams so much.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I really do love the pick. I didn't love it as much as I do now yesterday. I was a little, confused. I was like, the value is good, the pick is good. It's just,
Yeah,
how do you feel? Because, okay, long story short, being a Lions fan, I'm not used to moving up in the first round ever. We don't do that. We don't
yeah.
trade up for anybody unless it's like 6 picks in the second round to draft a freaking running back or something. And, for the first time, I think in my life, we moved up in the first round a lot in the first round to draft somebody. So it's just being an aggressive team is kind of weird for me. So it's, a little off-putting, but today I feel a lot better than I did yesterday.
So I'm gonna go on like a smaller it's like sidebar. I don't really know what to call it, but we heard that the Lions were interested in Deebo Samuel, and they offered the 49ers a trade for Deebo Samuel, and 49ers definitely said no, and that's why they traded up to get Jameson Williams.
Correct.
Yesterday, we also found out that AJ Brown got traded. to the Philadelphia Eagles, which we're gonna cover shortly.
Mhm.
I just want to see, because I know that you didn't like the Jameson Williams trade right after AJ Brown trade as much because you didn't think the value was there, which I totally disagree with. I think Jameson Williams, I think speed in the NFL right now is such a big asset,
Mhm.
and I don't think AJ Brown is fast. And I think that is one of the reasons why he got traded for such a small package.
Well, I mean, okay. So it wasn't that I didn't like the value after the AJ Brown trade. It was just once the AJ Brown trade was announced, I thought to myself, would I rather have AJ Brown for what we gave, or like for 32 and a third rounder versus trading up so much for Jameson? Um, I was definitely conflicted and I wasn't sure what I would have rather had, because at that point you do give up less capital for AJ, but you do have to pay him, and he's a little bit older, and as you said, he doesn't have that elite speed. So at this point I am happy with what we did, because we're not paying a receiver 25 million bucks a year. We got an elite potentially elite receiver at 12, and we're not going to have to pay him for another 5 years, hopefully. And we're going to see what we got. So honestly, at this point, I'm happy with what we have, and I'm glad we did it. And I'm glad we didn't trade for a Debo or an AJ. And just to add
Yep.
on to what you said, yeah, I'm just going to victory lap on this for a second, because we, like you said, we knew about the Debo Samuel Lions interest for a few days now. And I tweeted something like 2 days ago or 3 days ago. I think it was two. But I tweeted something that I said, the Lions are really interested in Debo, and they offered a package similar to what the Jets have offered. And
Yeah.
okay, so the first of all, number one thing is the tweet kind of like blew up a little bit, and so people that normally don't see my stuff were seeing it. So I was getting so many comments just like, "Oh, you don't know nothing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not, Ian Rappaport. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Blah 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 blah." Right.
Sure.
And I feel like at this point, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like at this point, I've been doing it for so long. It's been like 4 years, 3, 4 years now, that it's like everything I say is not going to be 100% correct. That's just not how this works. But at this point, I feel like you got to believe me sometimes. Like I wasn't even the only person saying this, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it just blows my mind how people just treat people like, bro, the way people were talking to me because I said this was wild. Like it blew my mind. Like people were saying stuff to me and I was just like, what, bro? Like, why are
Yeah.
you talking to me this way? You don't even know who I am. But anyway, it's just, my point is, I feel like it's about time that I get some respect when it comes to these, uh rumors, because
Yeah.
me and you come to this podcast once a week with all these different rumors that we have heard, when it comes down to it. And the people that
Right.
listen, I'm assuming, respect our opinion and listen to us because they want to hear what we know and what we have.
Yep.
But with that being said, I just wanted a victory lap on that we knew. Just so you know, we know stuff, guys. We're not lying to you. We don't just make stuff up. It's kind of what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting tired of. Is I don't even care if you say that, you don't agree with it or whatever, but to tell me I'm making it up is just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of like a stab in the back at this point.
Yeah.
Because why would somebody
No.
make that up? Like,
I I see what you're saying, and I think it's nice to take a small victory lap.
yeah,
But I think that bad press is always good press.
true that.
Um, and
Like I said, the
so
tweet blew up, so that's nice.
and so uh, the fact that you blew up and now that you've been proven right,
Right.
I think it was just gonna make your Twitter fame a
Right.
little bit more
Yeah. No,
appealing
yeah,
for people.
I feel you there. And that's kind of the one thing I am happy about is that, today it did come out that both the things that we said were true. So that's really what feels nice, is to know at the end of the day that people know I wasn't just making it up. But anyway, so moving on to pick number 13, we have another trade. The Eagles moved
Yep.
up here for number 13 with the Texans. They gave up number 15, 124, 162, and 166.
Yep.
Not a huge move. They moved up 2 picks, but they gave up like what? Uh is that Oh yeah, okay. So a fourth and 2/5 is what they gave up to move up, which I don't love the value, but I don't hate it. They move up to get Jordan Davis, which was very
Oh,
surprising to me.
they
Um,
need to do this.
I don't think so. I mean, they got Fletcher Cox and they got Javon Hargrave. I mean, I know they're trying to trade Fletcher Cox, but from what I heard, it sounds like they're wanting quite a bit for him. So I just don't see why the need for another big defensive tackle.
So, I mean, they wanted defensive tackle last year. They wanted, as we know, Olim McNear. They actually made a trade up to get Olim McNear last year, and then the Lions last second trade before them to take him, and they got Mitchell Williams instead. Um, and this year, it's kind of just like, oh, we need Jordan Davis because we didn't get Olim McNear last year,
Right.
and Baltimore was Jordan Davis all the way. And so they need to trade up before Baltimore to get Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Um, I love Jordan Davis. I think that uh, this year's draft is so weak that he is in the top half of the draft. I think that if he was drafted last year, if he was eligible last year, he would have been in a second round pick, personally. But um, the value that they got him here, the fact that they jumped up over the Ravens to get him, I'm gonna give this a A. I like the conviction that uh, they had here.
I like that. And I just realized I didn't give my grade, and actually it was an A as well. Because I really well, I'll give it a B plus because I really, really like the player. I love the player way more than you do. I know that's for sure. I don't love the fit necessarily because it wasn't a huge need for them. They definitely have bigger needs than another defensive tackle. But I do like the fit, and I think that defensive line now is going to be causing some havoc. So that's really nice if you're the Eagles. And then
Yeah.
at number 14, the Baltimore Ravens got probably the steal of the draft here. Kyle Hamilton at 14 is just ridiculous. Especially when, excuse me, Kyle Hamilton is probably a top 5 player on almost everybody's board, in terms of talent. And he fits great. And they just got Marcus Williams. So now they have a safety tandem that's out of this world, man. That defense is going to be top tier next year, even better than probably it was last year. So I love that pick, and I'm going to give it an A plus because the value is great, the fit's great, the player's great. I love it all.
Yeah, Ravens just keep drafting the best player on
Yep.
the consensus draft board. And so this is no different. I'm gonna give it an A because I I like Kyle Hamilton. With his 40 time and his uh, pro day, it kind of like was really bothersome to me. So I think that he kind of fell off a little bit after that, but he is very talented and he should be. He was probably top 5 in my draft board. So absolutely, A for me.
I love it. And then at 15, we had the trade back of the Texans from earlier with the Eagles. And they took the guard Kenyon Green. I don't hate this, but I don't love it. I don't necessarily like it. I'm kind of, in the middle on this, so I'm going to give it a C plus. Um, I really do think Kenyon Green's a very good player. But I feel like the Texans again had bigger needs. And there were better players at the needs that they have available. So I'm gonna give it a C plus, maybe a B minus, just because I do think Kenyon Green is a very good player. But for the value of the position and what they need, I don't love it.
No, I think the Houston Texans had a really bad draft in the first round, at least. I
Yeah.
think they took Dirk Stingley first, and I think they took him a little bit too high, and I think they took Kenyon Green about 10 picks too high. I'm shocked that Kenyon Green got picked over Zion Johnson and Lindenbaum. And I think this is probably the second most surprising pick in this NFL draft.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a D.
Oh wow.
And I'm going to give the Houston Texans like a solid C for a first round pick, for a first round draft grade. I don't think that Kenyon Green is a great player,
Yeah.
but the value at 15 is just not there.
Right.
Especially with Zion Johnson and Trevor Penning and Loonbaum Strasburg. I think they could have probably traded down another 10 spots and still got
Yeah.
Kenyon Green.
Yeah, I agree there.
And so just the fact that they picked him at 15, it was a shock to me.
Yeah, agreed. And then at 16, we have the Washington football team, and they take wide receiver Jahan Dotson. This one was very surprising to me. It felt like a little bit of a reach on the player. I do like Dotson quite a bit, but not that much. I think he's like my wide receiver 7, 6 or 7. But the value's not that great. The fit I don't love because they have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel already. This is another small, fast receiver. I'm gonna give it a C plus. I think a C plus is what I'm gonna give this one. Actually, you know what? I'll give my Kenyon Green a C because I feel like that's a bit worse than this. But I don't feel right giving this pick a B minus. So C plus for Jahan Dotson to the Washington Commanders.
I think Jahan Dotson needed to get picked in the first round after that wide receiver streak that we had. Just because there was a bunch of teams that needed wide receivers after this. I think really what happened with Washington is that they were intent in drafting Jameson Williams, just a really fast wide receiver. And they thought that Jameson Williams was going to be there at 16 because they didn't expect Detroit to move out because Detroit's trade was like actually a first shocker trade of the draft, in my opinion. And so they picked the second best option. I think Jahan Dotson is maybe the second fastest wide receiver in this draft, after Jameson Williams. And at 16, I don't hate the draft pick. I think that he could have been later in the pick, but I also don't know if they could have moved down. I think that they probably need to move down to like 20, and like that's such a small jump that like I don't really think that any of the teams ahead of them or behind them would have done that. So I'm going to give this a solid like C, just because I like Dotson, but I think the value is a little bit off. But again, I don't think that they could trade down.
Right. I don't disagree with you there. And then at 17, we had the Chargers taking Zion Johnson. This is one that we mocked Trevor Penning over and over and over and over again. I feel like Zion Johnson's also a great fit. It is a little bit early for a guard, but we did just see Kenyon Green go off the board. So I don't hate the pick at all. I do like the pick. They obviously need offensive linemen really everywhere, at all positions at this point. So I'm going to give this a good B plus. I feel like getting more help for Justin Herbert, and the run game is nice. I don't hate the value. Pick 17 is not too early for a guard, and I think Zion Johnson's very good. So yeah, I'll give it a B plus.
I love this pick. Zion Johnson was my best guard in this draft. I was a little bummed that he didn't slide to New Orleans, but there's a player that dislikes New England. We'll get to later. Uh, um, and I think that with Lindley and Slater, I think Zion Johnson just fits into that offensive line. And man, Justin Herbert does not do well this year. There's something wrong because that offensive line is building up into a pretty good one. I'm gonna give this one A minus. I love Zion Johnson. I think he's a really good player. And I don't think 17 was that much of a reach for him.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I agree with you there. And before we get to this next trade, I have two little updates on NFL news that have just happened.
Okay.
So it's official. The Jets' offer for Deebo Samuel was the number 10th pick and a 5th rounder this year in exchange for the 49ers' 2nd rounder this year. Clearly, the Niners turned that down.
Right.
And I think to me, that means that the consensus on a wide receiver is about the same. I feel like that's similar value to what, the Titans would have got for, or that the Titans did get for AJ Brown. And then second thing is at least one team tried trading up into the first round to get Malik Willis. So we could very well see Malik Willis go off the board early today. And I expect personally it to be Tampa Bay at 33. But go ahead.
Everything I hear about Tampa Bay is that they really like to ask.
Yeah.
Really like to ask.
I mean, I've heard that as well. That the Tampa Bay is more my opinion than an actual report that I have gotten. But the report was that, at least one team tried to move up for Malik Willis. But yeah, I don't like Trask. I don't know him, of course, but I don't love the college film that we had or that we saw, but every team evaluates differently and they get to see him every day in practice. So who knows? But with that said, number 18 was another trade. AJ Brown was traded for the number 18th overall pick and the number 101st overall by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I really like this trade to begin with for the Eagles. I don't love it for the Titans. I feel like they should have got a little bit more. But the Titans go ahead and take Treylon Burks here. And my grade is going to be a B, I think, for this with the trade and the pick. Because I do really like Treylon Burks, and I think he's a great AJ Brown replacement. I mean, AJ Brown was one of his comps for me. And I feel like he's the perfect replacement. I just don't think they got the value back that they should have for a guy like AJ Brown. So I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah. I'm actually really surprised about your Deebo Samuel update because I thought Deebo Samuel was going to get more than AJ Brown just because I think he offers higher upside than AJ Brown. But with that being said, I like this pick for the Tennessee Titans. I think Treylon Burks was not part of that wide receiver
upper echelon.
Yeah, upper echelon just because of his speed.
Right.
He's kind of slower on the slow end, so
he's faster than Drake London.
Yeah, but Drake London offers better blocking, better route running. He does some of the small stuff.
Valid.
I'm not a huge Arkansas fan, so
right.
I love Treylon Burks, but
right.
I do think he looks as similar to AJ Brown, and I'm going to give this a B plus because they really just got AJ Brown and a 4th round pick for AJ Brown. So
right.
I think that the value was good. Of course, now Burks needs to prove that he is a top wide receiver caliber. So
right. And with that said, at number 19, the Saints took Trevor Penning, the tackle from Northern Iowa. And this one was kind of one that we assumed would happen as well. The Saints have clear
Yeah.
needs at receiver and tackle. And they took the best tackle available, in my opinion. And with that, I'm going to give it a B plus grade. Or actually, I'll give it a B because I'm not 100% sure Trevor Penning is going to be a left tackle in the NFL.
He projects to be that way.
Huh?
He projects to be that way.
Right. I just don't know if he's like that elite level left tackle. I think he might be a little bit better at right, but you already have Ryan Ramczyk. So I do like the pick. I think I'm going to give it a B plus. I love the player. I like the pick. I like the fit. The only thing I'm worried about is, that moving.
This is I gotta give you props for the Saints here because
Thank you.
everything that I heard pre-draft was that they're gonna go trade up for a quarterback. They did the trade. I thought it was gonna be for Willis.
Right.
Ended up being for Olave. You had them go with wide receiver and tackler the entire way, and so I think that deserves props. I think that the Saints can still trade up for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Especially since Willis is still there.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were one of the teams that were trying to trade up to 32. With that being said,
right. But yeah, I think that deserves props. And I also really like this pick. I think it's a B as well. But I think that he is the fourth best tackler in his draft, and to get him at 19 was good. Value in my opinion. So
agreed. And then Kenny Pickett, the obvious pick at 20 to Pittsburgh. Yep. This was Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett, really their choice of the bunch there. They do go Kenny Pickett, the first quarterback off the board. I don't love Kenny Pickett. I think they should have taken Malik Willis because, in my opinion, Kenny Pickett has the highest floor of the quarterbacks because he's probably starter level right away. But he's Jared Goff, I think. Basically Jared Goff 2.0. I don't think he has as good of an arm as Goff necessarily either. So that's kind of a question mark for me. And obviously that he has tiny hands. So that's what we all know. And I just feel like Malik Willis makes more sense because you just signed Trubisky. Give Malik Willis a year to sit behind Trubisky and learn how to play quarterback in the NFL. And you could have, an MVP level guy. Whereas Kenny Pickett to me is never really going to break that top 15 barrier, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I give it Kenny Pickett, C.
Ooh, wow.
C plus. Be nice.
Kenny Pickett was always my quarterback one.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett reminds me of Derek Carr.
I don't hate that.
And I think that the fact that he does have tiny hands had him slip a little bit. I think that the Saints or the Steelers also having him in their backyard definitely helped. I think that being able to see him almost anytime that they wanted to definitely helped. I think that this is a B. I think that quarterback was still kind of too early.
Yeah.
At 20, again, from what we all know, that I don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft class. And I think that they all should have been second round picks, but there was always going to be one quarterback to get picked, and I think Kenny Pickett was probably the best one. So,
gotcha.
Good strong.
And then 21, we have your man. So the the New England Patriots traded out of the 21st pick. They gave up, or I'm sorry, the Chiefs traded up to number 21 and gave up number 29, number 94, and number 121. And they absolutely sniped you, bro.
Tremendous value for
tremendous. It was a pretty good trade for the Patriots. For the picks they got back at least.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs trade up and snag your guy Trent McDuffie. Cornerback 2 or 3 in this class, in my opinion. It's a toss up for him and Stingley, I think. depending on what you're looking for. And Trent McDuffie makes a lot of sense for the Chiefs because they're ready to win now. And that's what Trent McDuffie is here for. And I love the pick, and the trade's a little off, so I'll give it a B plus. It would be an A, but I feel like they gave up maybe not too much value, but a little bit more than I would have liked.
I think they need to.
Yeah.
Because I think the Patriots were also looking at Trent McDuffie. And so the Patriots were like, well, we're giving you a player that we want to draft, so give us more. But yeah, oh my gosh, I was so upset with this pick, guys. I was so happy. My draft process was it was a journey. My goodness. Michael Silver had this pick, him going to New England. I was super happy for a second. Then Ian Rappaport came out and was like, oh, it's straight down. And you were the one that told me. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
We traded down. We got good value. Trent McDuffie's off the board. My cornerback too. I think his height is the reason why he slips down to 21. He's not tall. But I think he's probably cornerback number 2. And good job for the Chiefs. I think it's just an A minus. Trent McDuffie's so good.
Yeah.
Good. Chiefs did well.
Agreed. And then at 22, the Green Bay Packers took linebacker Quay Walker from Georgia, the first linebacker off the board here. I like the pick. I do think Devin Lloyd would have been my pick because they're similar players, and I think Lloyd's the better version. But Quay Walker goes to the Green Bay Packers, excuse me. And I'll give this a solid B because I had him going at 32 in a lot of in our latest our last mock draft that we did to the Lions actually. But I'll give it a B because I feel like it's a little early, but I do like the player and I like the fit for the Packers.
My friend is a Packers fan. And we talked about this pick a lot. I'm not as high as Quay Walker as you. I think he was the second round pick. So I'm going to give this a C, but I also think that if you just exchange Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt,
right?
The Quay Walker pick definitely becomes a better pick. But I just like his value better at 28 than 22.
I like that.
So I can't really be mad about it. Because they ended up getting both. But I would give this a C because I don't think the value was there for Quay Walker as much as you did.
Another thing to mention with this is that I think we all were thinking the Packers were going to go wide receiver with at least one of these picks. But a little birdie, no. I was watching Pat McAfee's show today, and Aaron Rodgers mentioned that they wanted Jameson Williams bad. They thought he was the best receiver in the draft, and they even tried to trade up for him. But the Lions, so that's another thing that makes that Jameson pick even better now, is that we traded with the Vikings, stole some of their value, got an elite receiver, and stole him from Green Bay. So with that being said, that makes it even better. But next we have another trade. The Bills traded up from number 25 to number 23.
Just to add on to your wide receiver talk, I think that what really hurt Green Bay's chances to get a wide receiver was just that wide receivers went from 10 to 12, back to back to back. So if they didn't jump into that range, they were never going to get the wide receiver that they wanted.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so yeah. With that said, the Bills traded up from number 25 to number 23 and gave up number 130. And they took cornerback Kaiir Elam. I love this trade. I love the pick. They didn't give up much to make this happen, but they skipped over the Cowboys, who could have taking this player potentially. But I really like the fit. I feel like we mocked this in our last mock draft. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember him going in one of our last two.
Yeah.
But I love the fit. It makes so much sense. Tre'Davious White and Kyer Elam and Taron Johnson is a pretty good trio at corner. And I'll give it a B plus. Because you know what, I'll give it an A. I'll give it an A because I feel like this is a great fit. It's a great value. Kyer has a very high upside as well. So I'll give it an A.
Yeah. So I think Caillou Elam ended up being cornerback number 4 for me. I think he just edged up Booth just because he has high upside. So I like this pick. I sucks that he went to Buffalo. Because I also wanted him in New Orleans a little bit. But this is a B for me. Elam is good, so good fun.
And then the Cowboys went ahead and took Tyler Smith, the tackle from Tulsa. Say that 3 times fast. But I don't love the value here. The fit's not terrible, but I don't love the value. I'm going to give it a C because I don't necessarily think Tyler Smith was a first round pick. But I think he's a good fit for what they want there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give it a C.
So most mocks over the past week had Tyler Smith going to Cowboys.
Huh.
I thought that was a little inaccurate just because I agree with you that he was more of a second round pick. And that's just because he's not ready right now, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I think that he has all the potential to be as good as Collins was or better than Collins. But I think that might take a couple of years. But Cowboys usually end up developing offensive line pretty well. So I could see Tyler Smith doing some good things early on and surprising people.
Agreed.
So I'm going to give this a B minus, just because the value
Okay.
wasn't there, but the spot was there, and Tyler Smith fits all of what the Cowboys like to do in their offensive line.
I don't hate that. And then at number 25, the Baltimore Ravens take the center Tyler Linderbaum. I love this pick. I'm gonna give this another A. I feel like the Ravens absolutely killed this draft. They got the number 1 safety and the number 1 interior offensive lineman.
Yep.
Overall. And to do it where I think both of them they stole on value is amazing. And Linderbaum fits exactly what the Ravens are and what they want. So I'll give it an A.
Yeah, we should mention that this trade was part of 2 trades actually. The Baltimore Ravens got the 23rd pick because of Marquise Brown.
Correct.
And then they traded down with Buffalo, I believe.
Yep.
To the 25th pick.
Correct.
To select Tyler Linderbaum. And yeah, this pick is really good. Ravens, I can't say this enough, always pick the best player on the board. And so Tyler Linderbaum was the best player on the board, and he fits the team well. A for me.
Agreed. I like that. And then we had the Jets do a trade up. They give up number 35, number 69, and number 163, and get back number 26 and 101. I don't love the value because they did only move up 11 spots. But I don't hate it because they gave up number 69 and then moved up 61 spots in the third. So it's not terrible. And I love the player. I feel like this is a guy we saw going way earlier than this to many different teams. I thought he was going to go earlier to, the Jets or the Giants. But even Atlanta, I heard some interest at early on. But he falls to 26, and I'm going to give this an A. A minus, just because I feel like they gave up a little bit more value for the pick selection, but I love the player and I love the fit, so I'll give it an A minus.
So for me, I can't hate the value for the trade because Jermaine Johnson is a top 10 player. I don't think that if they waited those 11 picks, that Jermaine Johnson would be there.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
I can't really guarantee that. So I love this pick. I think this pick is A plus. Um, I was really high on Jermaine Johnson. I think I was like one of the first ones to be high on him. I had him going 7, 8, 9, 10, around in the bottom half of the top 10. For the Jets to wait all the way to 26 and select him now, they have one heck of a draft. I love Gardner, I love Wilson, I love Jermaine Johnson. It's a solid A pick, but Joe Douglas does this every year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great pick.
And then the last trade in this first round, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars trading up with Tampa Bay. They give up number 33, 106, and 180 for number 27. I don't love the value because they only moved up a few spots, but I do love the pick. This was my linebacker one. I've said that for a long time now. He was head and shoulders above all the other linebackers, in my opinion. And I'll give it an A just for that and the fact that they recently cut Miles Jack, so he kind of fits right in there. I would give it an A plus, but the value is a little bit much. But it's an A for me.
Yeah. I think with the last two trades, the value is kind of high,
Yeah,
but with the players being selected, it makes sense.
right.
Devin Lloyd is always like I compare him to Dante Hightower, but I've seen other people compare him to Micah Parsons, a slower Micah Parsons.
I say
I
Demario
think
Davis.
that's a little too much from my opinion. It's Micah Parsons. It's a great linebacker. So
Right.
I think it's a little too much. But this is a heck of a player. I'm going to give this an A minus. The minus is just because the value wasn't there for the trade, but I could definitely see Devin Lloyd being selected in the low teams and no one batting an eye. So
Right.
A minus for me.
I like it. And then at 28, the Packers took the defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. I like the pick. I like the player. The grade might surprise some people, and it's not just because they didn't take a wide receiver. I'll give it a B, B plus maybe. Just because I feel like they have some needs at other places, including wide receiver. But I like the pick. It wasn't bad.
So what I'm finding out from us is that you are much more leaning greater than I am.
I'm
I'm
what?
out here just giving people
Oh,
really bad grades, and you're like A minus, B.
yeah.
I don't think you've given a C yet.
No, I've given C's.
Okay.
I had two, I think at least, maybe
Okay.
more.
I think I've
But
had like 4 or 5 C's.
yeah, I think it's just because we like players differently.
Yeah. Devontae Wyatt, I like this pick. I think that him being at 20 is a steer. And it kind of makes up for that Cray Walker pick. So I'm gonna give this a B.
I like it. And then your very own
My
New
New
England
Patriots,
Patriots with the steal of the draft when all is said and
yeah.
done. They take the 6-year
Yeah.
starter, the demon from the demon from down low, Cole
Yep.
Strange. He sounds like a WWE wrestler. I'm just saying.
Really does.
I mean, come on. Cole
Yeah.
Strange, like I could even see him
Right.
coming out with some like spooky theme music and smoke.
No.
But but I mean, this is a D for me. I mean, I'm not gonna give it an
Way too
F.
lenient. Come on now.
I'm not gonna give it an F just because I didn't even watch the dude's film. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know who he was. No, I didn't watch his film. I did know kind of who he was, but I wasn't in depth with the player, unfortunately. But I feel like he is gonna be good. It's just a reach in terms of value. I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, this is the worst pick of all time. The Patriots suck at drafting." Well, I feel like a lot of people that know what they're talking about have said he's a good player. He was getting some comps to
Second
Ali
scout.
Marpet. Huh?
I think he's the second best scout in this draft.
Okay. I don't hate
But
that.
I also think that Zion Johnson's the right tackler
Huh.
more than a guard.
Okay.
So
I don't hate that. I mean, I feel like I don't really know where I'd have him ranked personally. But I do not hate the pick as much as you do, I think. But it's a decent pick, so I'll give it a D.
so I don't hate the pick. I'll start with that. I
Okay.
think Cole Strange is a good player. I for every mock that I've seen in the last couple of weeks had him picked with the Patriots. So I kind of like hit him on my radar. But again, every pick that he was picked at was second or third round, depending on kind of how the draft board fell. My biggest complaint here is that Cole Strange is not a bad player. It's just the fact that like I know why the Patriots did it was to get that 5th-year option, but the fact that you get a guard that is on no one's board besides yours at the 29th pick, when there's other probably more impactful players that people are going to buy for, like a Trent McDuffie or a Devin Lloyd or a Jermaine Johnson. I just hate that they traded down from 21 to 29 and picked that random center that you called. Um, and so I just don't see a value to me. And I think that is really what does it for me. It's that like I don't think anyone is competing for Cole Strange at this point.
The only team I could see taking him honestly is Cincinnati, which honestly wouldn't, if I would have known how teams rank this, I wouldn't be that surprised by that. So maybe that's why. But also to think, I mean, if they like him this much, they would have probably had to trade back up in the second round anyway to get him. So I don't know. It's not a terrible pick.
Right. So like here's my thing is that if you trade down from 21, you pass on all that value from Devin Lloyd to Jermaine Johnson to Trent McDuffie. What stops you from trading 29 for earlier second, and then getting Cole Strange at that point?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying with the Bengals is that maybe they were interested in him and that's why they didn't do that because they're like, well, if we trade down again
For
and
sure.
we missed out on all the talent in the first place, and then we move down again, and then the Bengals take him, then we're screwed. It's like
For sure. I think this has more to do with the 5th-year option, personally.
Okay.
But he's a good player. I could see him being Tooney, Logan Mankins, that kind of mode. But again, I just don't know if anyone was competing for him at 29, so there's no value to it.
Right.
So I'm gonna give this an F.
Gotcha.
Just good player, terrible value.
I'm not mad at you there. And then pick 30, George Karlaftis goes to Kansas City. Kansas City killed this draft, I think. Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis were both steals value-wise.
Yep.
And great fits. I'm gonna give this one a A because I think Karlaftis was my edge 4 or edge 3. Him and Jermaine Johnson were it was a tough edge 4 or 5, not edge 3 or 4. Him and Jermaine Johnson was kind of a toss-up for me. I think I leaned Jermaine just a little bit because of his athletic upside. But I love this pick, so I'm gonna give it an A.
Yeah, I like this pick too. This is where I thought he was going to go all along. So I'm going to give him an A, especially since George Kalafis could have been selected by any of the Green Bay Packers or New England Patriots, and I won't bat an eye. He's good enough to get drafted a couple spots earlier than 30th, so A for me.
I like it. And then Dax Hill goes 31 to the Bengals. This is a guy you liked throughout the process. You heard a
Yep.
lot about. I'll give it a B just because I don't think safety was a huge need for them. Um,
Again, he's like a
yeah,
hybrid
he's a
cornerback
hybrid.
safety. Yeah.
Um, so I feel like it's a solid pick. I'm not as high on Dax as you are. I do like the versatility. So that's nice. I'll give it a B plus actually. Um, I feel like it's a pretty solid pick, good fit, and that versatility really gives him. It gives them a little bit more options because they do have two good safeties, but Von Bell I think is in the last year of his contract, so maybe they put Dax at corner for this year, then move him to safety next year, or either
Yeah.
or, kind of opens your door. So yeah, B plus for that.
Yeah. Um, Jackson Hill was an underrated pick for me. I didn't know too much about him until I saw a couple mocks with him in like the teens. I was like, who the heck is this Jackson Hill? Then I started to play tape and I was like, oh my gosh, this Jackson Hill is pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, again, he's one of those players who I think potential kind of does him uh creates him this high. I don't know if he played as well at Michigan that his potential says he is. But he has the potential to be the best safety in the draft, I think. Um, and if he's gonna play like that, I don't know. That's to be seen, but that's really what Jackson Hill brings, in my opinion. And so I'm gonna give this a B.
I don't hate it. And then 32 to round this out, we had the Minnesota Vikings taking Lewis Sign, the safety from Georgia. I really like this pick. It makes a lot of sense in terms of player. I do think he's a little bit better at safety than Dax Hill is, but Dax has that versatility, so that makes sense why he went ahead of him. But I'm gonna give this a B plus because the Vikings have a need at safety, especially now that Harrison Smith is older. They're not going to have a safety for very much longer. So getting this is pretty good value. So I'll give it a B plus.
It this pick confuses me because I think Scene is a second rounder, and the fact that they traded down when they had Hamilton on board, um, to the Detroit Lions for kind of like bad value in my opinion to get this Lewis Scene. Kind of tells me that they like him a bit,
Yeah.
more than I like him, but I think they usually would have just been Hamilton at 12 and or trade down a little bit more. I don't know again if they could have, besides maybe a team that won Malik Willis,
Yeah.
that we know of, um, to select Scene. But yeah, this is not a bad value. I just don't like. I like the player. I just don't like the value. So I'm gonna give it like a B minus.
Okay. I don't hate that. And that rounds out our round one mock draft, or not mock, round one draft grades. Um I feel like this draft was pretty wild. It was more fun than I assumed it was going to be.
Nine
Um
grades.
we huh
9 trades.
9 trades. Holy crap. That sounds like more than what I thought it was. But we're out about 2 hours away from round two starting. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be on the clock.
Quick, quick thing. What are you most looking forward to the second round?
Most looking forward to as a Lions fan. I really want the Lions to get a linebacker. I'd like it to be, one of the top tier linebackers. I'd really love to be Nakobe Dean. But if we can't get him, a Leo Chenal or a Chad Muma would be pretty good at 46. What I would really love, my best case scenario, would be to trade down a few picks if Dean isn't there and still get a linebacker and recoup a little bit of the assets after trading up for Jameson. But personally, what I want to see in round two is I want to see Carolina take Malik Willis. I want to see Seahawks take Desmond Ritter, and I want to see the New York Giants take Matt Corral.
Interesting. Nice. I truly believe now that with Daniel Jones being a declined fifth option, I think Jimmy Garoppolo goes to New York.
Yeah,
I think that actually might happen with the second round pick.
I don't hate that. That's another thing I
Uh,
was gonna say is I would like to see Jimmy G traded.
um, personally, but I think that's the. I kind of want to see what these quarterbacks go.
Mhm.
I've heard Matt Corral to the Saints so much that I think that he is destined for New Orleans. But that also might be a smokescreen of. I think that's really what New York did. I think they smokescreen the heck out of Cross so much that like they got New York, but I don't really
Right.
think that the value was really needed. Um, I think that like Minnesota at 34 could get Willis. I think that Willis could go at 35 to Tennessee. I
Hmm.
could see Willis slip into 37 to Texans, but I think Willis goes in the top 10 picks. As a New England Patriot fan, I hope that New England can trades up to get a Kobe Dean or a Booth, just
Hmm.
because I want something to root for.
Right.
And I really like both those players. But if that doesn't happen, then whatever. Um, but yeah, the quarterback needy teams gained the quarterbacks that we expect to go in the first rounds. Ultimately didn't happen. So that's what
Right.
I'm looking for.
Another thing to keep your eye on um is a few running backs going here in the second and third round. Keep your
Yeah,
eye on teams that have older running backs like Tennessee. Maybe the Giants could take one because they're getting rid of Saquon most likely, um, either next year in free agency or by draft. But there will be a lot of teams that are going to take running backs that we weren't expecting.
I don't know if this is going to happen, but the pick that he keep hearing for 33 Tampa Bay is Brees Hall.
I don't think so. I think they just signed Leonard Fournette and they still got
He's old.
yeah, but they still just drafted Vaughn like a year or two ago and they signed Fournette to a big deal.
Fournette is only on like a 2 year.
I thought it was a 3 year.
Sure,
But
3
yeah,
years.
still, but I mean, money's money. When you're paying him, you got to pay him. If you're going to pay him, I think he's making like 5 a year or 6 a year,
Yeah.
which is similar to Aaron Jones.
That's just a pick that
Right.
I keep hearing from Tampa Bay. So
I wouldn't be
I
that
wouldn't be
surprised though,
shocked if it was
honestly.
Brees Hall at
Yeah.
33 to kick off our draft. I
Yeah.
think he's the best linebacker by far.
I like Kenneth Walker personally, but I don't hate
Oh
that.
really?
Yeah. I could see Chicago taking a running back as well, Atlanta, Miami, Baltimore. Like I said, Philadelphia could be a team. There's a few teams that I think the Patriots might. Um, there's a possibility there.
I don't think so.
I don't think it'll probably be second or third round. It'll probably be later, like fourth or fifth.
I think they take a running back to replace James White in like the fifth round, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, with that said, I think that's all we got for this one.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
appreciate y'all for coming. Do your
Yes.
thing. Share, like, subscribe, the whole thing. We will catch you guys on the next one. We will probably do, a post draft podcast and then take a break for a few weeks at least.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, at least until um, you know, what's it called? Not OTAs, probably later on than OTAs and train. It might be like training camp might be our next podcast, and then probably
Yeah.
a couple weeks in between until the next one. It'll basically be by the news. So if some big trade happens in between then and there, I might do an emergency podcast, but probably not as of now. So
I
with that
think
being
the
said, oh, go ahead.
I think the only big trade left on the board at this moment is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Agreed. And I think that happens tonight,
And
if at all.
maybe Baker Mayfield.
That's another thing. I think it depending on what Seattle does with their second, first, or second, or 2 second round picks. I think Baker could very well be going to Seattle. And Carolina is also a place to, keep an eye on for Baker
Yep.
because they didn't go quarterback early in the first round at least. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And they don't have their second round pick. So they can't really take Malik Willis in the second round either. So we could
Right.
see a trade there. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you for joining me as always. Thank you guys for watching / listening. And we'll catch you on the next one. Hopefully the Lions come out tonight and do some big moves as they have
Think
been.
about.
I think we're gonna keep the draft going pretty well here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
appreciate y'all for watching. And again, thanks Tom for coming. We'll catch
You're
you.
welcome.